It's gonna get spicy today, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Absolutely. Look, if you've watched this channel for any amount of time, then you've probably heard my take about exclusivity in video games. Basically, I don't like it. I don't like any game being exclusive because that limits the amount of games I can play and forces me to buy hardware or go to somewhere else that I don't want to go to in order to play a specific video game, thereby trapping you inside of that actual ecosystem, hardware space, and forcing you as a customer and consumer on where you can and can't spend your money and what games you can and cannot play. And that, I feel, is not a good thing overall for the customer in video games themselves. And that's just my spicy take on the entire thing. Now, the thing is, the gaming industry has been getting a little bit, dare I say, out of control, and things have been evolving ever since the 90s and 2000s, where every game was trying to be exclusive to show some sort of unique value proposition for that platform. But because of all that breakneck speed and even cost of production and development, things have been getting crazier. You're seeing PlayStation games being put to Xbox, you're seeing Xbox games on PlayStation, and you're seeing everybody put their games on the PC. And a lot of people really didn't like that. Hell, you can practically go on Twitter and see every single fanboy scream at the top of their lungs about how exclusives are a good thing, about how paying for a box that you never wanted in the first place to play a video game because the logo was different is a good thing. Yet here we are in 2025, soon to be 2026, and the rules are changing and being broken in front of everyone. And honestly, I couldn't ask for anything better. But you see, all this actually came to a head about 2 weeks ago. Number one, when Jez Corden offhandedly talked about PlayStation possibly pulling back their games from PC. According to The Gamer, Xbox Insider says PlayStation is probably pulling back from PC days after saying day and date exclusives are coming. With the quote from Jez saying this, PlayStation probably is pulling back from PC, Corden claimed. A quote, very good source told him. The cross-buy buttons in the PlayStation PC iconography is from an outdated old build and is never going to be used. It does seem like the games that PlayStation released on PC didn't move the needle for them at all, partially because they were launched so late. But maybe they've used that as evidence that they shouldn't go any further. Now, there was clarification from Jez about what was said, and here's the tweet. Jez Corden says, I just want to add that these were very vague rumors and just podcast discussions and speculations, not a serious report or leak. It is my personal opinion that it would be good for Sony to do day and date, speaking purely mathematically, but a few people saw me say that and told me what they'd heard otherwise. I don't do PlayStation reporting and shouldn't be used as a source of info for it beyond basic opinions and speculation, unless it's up on Windows Central. Microsoft and Xbox is my beat. Now, the great part about all of this is watching how so many fanboys and people on the internet were saying, oh, PlayStation is going to start pulling their games away from PC, thereby finally having exclusives again. And yet all of a sudden, a few days later, it turns out that Steam and Gabe put all those fears back into those fanboys. Because of course, the GabeCube, the Steam machine, was in fact announced. And you have a PC with a console-like form factor designed to be placed under a TV or monitor, or even be a desktop replacement that can basically play every single game on Steam. And what games are on Steam? PlayStation games. And what games are also on Steam? Xbox games. And what games does Steam also have? Basically everything else under the sun, including emulation and anything else you can do with a PC. Because what this little machine did was basically show how simple it's going to be for other companies that are trying to go through and create a console PC hybrid to fit that exact same spot as well, thereby Xbox doing that exact same thing. And people were holding on to hope as hard as they possibly could that PlayStation would in fact be pulling their games away from PC, having those exclusive titles only for them to brag about on stupid console list wars. But the thing is, even more information has started to come out, especially over the past weekend, concerning what PlayStation is actually making on PC ports. And it's gonna bust some narratives. According to Insider Gaming, PlayStation has made over $1 billion on Steam. That's right, I didn't stutter. It wasn't a million, it was $1 billion. billion with a B. Now look, there's more to this story than just meets the eye in the very beginning of the headline. There are some things that I'm going to be criticizing where this information came from, but there's also going to be other sources as well that could corroborate this kind of info on top of that. But let's see what actually happened in the article and go from there. In its latest report, Alinea Analytics goes into detail on the success of PlayStation Studios titles. They mention that the number comes after Valve's cut of sales is taken into account. The firm says that according to their estimates, over $1.5 billion in revenue has been generated in total. Of that total, Sony has received $1.2 billion, while Valve has come away with at least $350 million. For Valve's portion of the cuts, they take 30% of sales initially. Once a game reaches $10 million in sales, that drops to 25%. After $50 million, it falls a bit further to 20%. Still, even with the profits that are going to Valve, Sony has to be pleased with what PlayStation games are generating for the platform. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't really trust Alinea Analytics at all, basically. They're the same or even worse as VG Charts, who try to just throw out numbers to make a bunch of headlines. The thing is, though, there is more information to corroborate this. And if this information is even remotely close to being correct, you're looking at $1 billion in revenue that PlayStation never had in the first place over the past 5 years, putting their games onto PC. This alone sent shockwaves throughout the industry as people were beginning to realize there's a lot of money to be made on the PC platform. And on top of that, we're looking at the space right now where exclusivity isn't benefiting any company whatsoever. There's billions, if not millions of dollars being left on the table simply because companies want to have exclusive products to satiate fanboys. Xbox even proved that this was in fact correct. When you're looking at something like Forza Horizon 5 selling millions of copies on PlayStation, what it turns out to be is people didn't want to buy an Xbox for Forza Horizon 5, they just wanted to buy Forza Horizon 5, and the same thing will happen with Halo and etc. and even every other game after that, mostly because people are stuck inside of their own ecosystem that they've already pumped tons of money into. The sunk cost fallacy is in fact correct. Why would anybody leave a platform they put all that money into after 80% of all their games are digitally purchased, by the way, to go to another storefront to buy more of their games on top of that simply because one or two games exist there? More than likely what'll happen is that person will buy the console, buy those one or two exclusive games, play them, and then never turn it back on ever again, being a complete waste of time and money. When those companies are actually finding more success by saying, you don't want to come to us, we'll come to you instead. But there's more to this article, and we'll go from there. Insider Gaming continues by saying, going into their estimates, again, it's important to note that many of these numbers haven't been fully confirmed by Sony. Alinea reports that Helldivers 2 is the most successful first-party game on Steam. Since its release in February 2024, the game has sold 12.7 million copies. In a distant second is Horizon Zero Dawn, which sold 4.5 million copies. Then that's followed by God of War at 4.2, Days Gone at 3.4, and Spider-Man Remastered at 2.7 million sold. Despite the success of these games, Alinea cautions that the novelty of PlayStation games on Steam is wearing off a bit, saying, quote, "The audience that was once excited to experience these games for the first time has largely been served," Alinea's head of market analysis, Rise Elliott, says. Later releases naturally face smaller potential audiences, and our estimates clearly show this. Now, even though I'm very skeptical about Alinea's numbers and what they're promoting, I think what's going to be happening is you're going to be seeing the window from a game being released on PlayStation to then being onto PC shorten dramatically over and over, especially over time. Remember, it always went from never ever to games that are 4 years old to games that are 2 years old to games that are 1 year old to not only live service games are day and date. And in my opinion, you will absolutely see tentpole titles hit PC day and date onto the PC platform, mostly because the market is far too big and the amount of money being left onto the table is really what companies don't want to miss out on. And you know what, just to prove that point, I'll even use Sean Layden's own quote against him, where he stated that every generation game prices prices should increase because the cost of development needs to increase as well. The problem is that every single time you increase the price on actual users, you're going to shrink the amount of people available to actually buy that product, basically removing people from that pool of purchasing. So you can do one of two things: either increase the price of your product or increase the amount of users that buy your product. And I'll tell you this, if game companies continue to make this highfalutin AAA quality video game graphics games consistently over time, constantly increasing the budgets of those games, they're going to have to do one of those two things: increase the price or increase the player base. And it's going to be a lot easier for them to increase the player base who they can sell to than it is to be increasing the price at all. But more than likely, they're just going to do both. My bet is going to be PlayStation working on an actual PC-like launcher app and then putting their games on there. Now, I don't think they're going to be removing their games from Steam. I don't think that's going to be a smart play overall, because you're going to have a lot of users simply say, okay, I'm just going to wait for it to hit Steam anyways. We do that already with the Epic Game Store. We did that already with Kingdom Hearts and every other game that Epic tried to have as an exclusive onto that storefront before it hit Steam, and nobody actually bought them at all. So if PlayStation wants to go ahead and try to compete with Steam, good luck. You've got a long way to go. I'm going to tell you that right now. But here's what's probably going to happen instead. You will see PlayStation tentpole single-player titles hit the PC app that PlayStation will make. They'll also go ahead and be on Steam as well, and they'll be released day and date the same as those consoles. Because again, if game development price increases, then they're going to have to do something to mitigate those costs, and by selling more copies, that's how they're going to do it. And it's going to be even crazier when you start seeing more PlayStation Live service games or games that they third-party money had hit the Xbox platform as well. And speaking of Xbox, that's where things can get really spicy, because if Xbox pulls this off and they make that console PC hybrid that allows you to play games on GOG and on Steam and from other storefronts on their one specific console PC, then you're going to be seeing a lot of games be on Xbox without having to be ported natively. And that's going to be even funnier to watch as the industry itself becomes more ubiquitous about what's better for you as a consumer, rather than what game are you locking behind a $500 to $700 paywall. The thing is, though, even though I'm incredibly skeptical about Alenia Analytics and their numbers, which everyone should be, because after they tried to do the whole Final Fantasy 16 sales on the Xbox using actual game reviews from users who bought the game, yeah, they tried that. That wasn't really smart to do in the first place. There has been more information being revealed about PlayStation single-player games on PC and how much money they're actually making. And you'll never guess where it's from. According to Hazardor Gaming on Twitter, Stellar Blade is the best-selling PlayStation exclusive launch IP in history for PC with Studio Shift Up. With Hazardor continuing by saying this, with the highest concurrent users than any other PlayStation Studios title. Now, this is where things get really exciting. You see, Stellar Blade was a game that was money-hatted by PlayStation to be put onto the PlayStation platform. A year later, it then came onto the PC space. And when you look at that graph, man, that is a sight to behold. Now, me personally, I haven't played much of Stellar Blade. I heard it was actually pretty peak, and I'm kind of excited to play it. The thing is, though, I've mostly just been collecting and bookmarking specific mods that I want to add to the game before I start playing it, if you know what I mean. But this is incredibly interesting and exciting to see. We saw how Alenia Analytics was talking about how there was no novelty left in sort of trying to put their games onto the PC platform, and saying that sales may in fact be slowing down by PlayStation. Yet here we see Stellar Blade with a 2.5x increase over every single other PlayStation game on Steam in terms of concurrent users at any given time, which basically tells me one of two things. A, the market is absolutely there for a bunch of users to go ahead and buy games that are published by PlayStation, even if they are a year later onto the Steam platform. And two, or B, I don't know which one it was, I just totally forgot, it turns out that the issue may not in fact be the novelty of games on PC from PlayStation, but in fact could be the games themselves. I've been very critical about PlayStation having the same exact third-person cover-based action-adventure game with stealth elements over and over again, just being recycled consistently. And I feel like as long as PlayStation continues to do that kind of step, you're going to be seeing a lot of less and less sales onto the PC platform because of it. What I think PlayStation should do instead is go back to their back catalog and bring out a lot of the games that really are just left behind to time. The God of War Greek Saga collection would be phenomenal to be putting onto PC as well as every other platform as well. well for users to enjoy that game once again, because personally, I never liked 2018 or even God of War Ragnarok. I never even wanted to touch that game besides the PC port review, even though the port for PC for Ragnarok was honestly pretty fantastic. Last of Us, don't care, didn't like it. Spider-Man, yeah, whatever, just seems pretty mid to me. I already played it on the PS4. Ghost of Tsushima seems pretty, but of course it is wrapped up in quite a bit of controversy. I think what the novelty is wearing off with PlayStation games is because a lot of people on PC want a good PlayStation game. You know, like go back to the PS1 and PS2 era of games and bring those to PC. I think those will sell incredibly well. You bring SOCOM to PC, trust me, you're going to be seeing a huge resurgence in player bases, and even then have a massive amount of people want to play something else besides Call of Duty, which isn't really doing that great overall either. Battlefield 6 did it. They brought everything else back, so you can bring SOCOM back too. Now for me though, that's just my hot take on what PlayStation should be doing with their games. I think the funnier thing about all of this is in fact watching fanboys lose their mind about PlayStation making only $1.2 billion. Only. Here is Xbox Still Last on Twitter saying this: port beggars. PlayStation generated $1.2 billion from PC ports. Wow, 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 wowzers. They aren't stopping anytime soon. Blah, blah. Reality. PlayStation generated $1.2 billion from nearly 20 games over a 5-year period, and only one game made a real impact. And he pointed to Horizon Zero Dawn. You can see the cope, the sneezing, and the malding come through that entire tweet, because it really is funny to watch how someone who has no idea what corporations want try to talk down to $1.2 billion in revenue being earned by simply putting their game onto another platform, or games onto another platform. That is the true essence of the word. These dudes want nothing more than to have stupid list wars about their actual consoles on a consistent basis, simply because they want to have that shown, being like, what I bought is the best thing, therefore you are dumb and I am smart. That's basically it. To sit there and try to chastise $1.2 billion over 5 years, so an extra what? $300 million every single year? That's not too shabby for a corporation, especially a corporation that is consistently raising the prices of their consoles, raise the price of their games, raise the price of their online services, and are trying to gouge you for every red cent that they possibly can. If they're trying to make every penny off of you, who's to say they won't want to make every penny off of every other platform as well? Remember, corporations don't want some of the money, they want all of the money. And I find it very cute that you call people port beggars, because clearly you have no idea what's happening your way. All those exclusives, they're going to be gone, my boy, and I can't wait to see it happen. Here's RGamerB saying this: Sony has allegedly only made $1.5 billion in revenue on Steam in 5 years, selling 42 million games. 2 PS4 releases alone surpassed this. No wonder Sony is rethinking. Sweating face emoji. 1.5 billion equals 1.1% of Sony's revenue this gen. Saying that, don't trust these guys. Review count equals sales. I honestly find it incredibly funny and hilarious how these are the same exact people who will use Alenia Analytics to console war in their favor for PlayStation not putting their games onto Xbox, like Final Fantasy XVI and so many others. And then at the same time, once it goes against their narrative, they'll turn around and be like, guys, don't use Alenia Analytics. Their numbers are bad. And what's even funnier about this entire tweet is saying they only made $1.2 billion. How do you put only in front of $1 billion? That makes no sense whatsoever. Your concept of money is really just absurd in every sense of the word. All you're trying to do is downplay the amount of revenue being made by PlayStation from PC gamers, because I thought we didn't buy games. I thought PC gamers pirated every game, and I thought nobody bought games on Steam. Yet here we are, looking you square in the face, telling you we're going to buy those games and every other one that comes with it as well. And remember that entire time in the beginning we talked about how Jez Corden said PlayStation may be rethinking their single-player titles on the PC? Well, here they are using it as an actual defense. No wonder PlayStation is rethinking. Ah, yes, so now Jez Corden to you is a viable source of what you want to see in the first place, because if it's positive for Xbox, Jez Corden is lying. If it's positive for PlayStation, Jez Corden is telling the truth. It's so funny to watch the actual back and forth hypocrisy happen between all these fanboys every single time. But it gets better. Here's the gaming ledger talking about Steam and PlayStation, and no, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. We're not going to sit here and do another ChatGPT fucking 10-page dissertation from every other fucking fanboy online simply because they want to defend their plastic box and say that, oh, if you don't buy the same box I bought, then you can't play these games. We're not living in the year 2000 anymore. It's not 1995 anymore. Game companies have to make more money than ever before. All this shit you're writing down here is a waste of your fucking time because nobody's going to read that shit in the first place. And it's honestly ridiculous that you spent all this time trying to either A, prompt ChatGPT to put it all together, and then you hopefully proofread it before you posted this thing on the internet, or B, actually the worst possible case scenario, you sat down while taking a shit, typing all this stuff out, and I bet your legs fell asleep as you were writing the entire thing down. The ridiculousness and behavior and insanity about exclusives going to another platform so other people get to play video games really is absurd to me. And the crazier part is I tried to actually reply to this tweet and couldn't because I'm already blocked. It just, come on, y'all. Like, come on. Really? Now, my takeaway on this entire thing is this. I really do feel like PlayStation and so many other companies will be, in fact, putting their games onto multiple platforms, whether it's PC, whether it's Xbox, whether it's a Nintendo Switch. The gaming industry has, in fact, hit that plateau of users that they're going to be selling to. And the gaming industry will have to do one of two things, or they're going to be doing both, in my opinion. They're going to raise the price of their consoles, their games, and their services, which they absolutely already are, or they're going to go through an increased amount of users. My guess is they're going to do both. They're going to sell their games and services to more people across more platforms and also increase those prices as well because the line has to go up. No amount of fanboying you do on Twitter is going to stop a multi-billion-dollar corporation from trying to make 1 penny more than they possibly ever could the last quarter. And that's how things usually tend to go. But it's going to be interesting to see in the future what actually happens. My guess is PlayStation will be putting their games onto the PC day and date. They'll also be making their own launcher as well to put games day and date. And it's going to be funny to watch how every single narrative collapses under the actual fold and weight of fanboys trying to now defend PlayStation from doing the thing they've criticized Xbox doing for so long. That's going to be the best day of all. But you know what? I want to hear what you guys have to say about this in the comments section down below. Do you think Sony will in fact go day and date? Do you think they're stopping PC ports? I want to hear what you guys have to say. If you want to see more of this kind of content though, more PC port reviews, gaming news, Steam Deck videos, fanboy content, and even live streams every Saturday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 98K, and I just got to say thank you guys so very much. If you want Discord access or most during live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. If you don't want to spend the buck, don't sweat it. Just show up Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, live right here on the channel as I wear a banana suit and get insulted by AITTS from all my viewers. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. With all that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you gooners next time. Peace!